We are live. Heavy Muscle Radio, and it is August 2nd, 2021. The U.S. Championships were this past weekend. We're in the midst of the contest season. A lot of exciting stuff to talk about today. And joining me, as always, is John Romano and Chris Aceto. Chris, what's going on over there in Maine?
Same old. Nothing really. What's going on in Florida besides you guys have a million like new caseloads or something?
Yeah, I don't even pay attention. Yeah, everyone's.
I know because you're home, huh?
Well, I'm out. I go out. I've been going to restaurants. I actually ate sushi yesterday. Can you believe it?
You did?
Yeah.
How was it?
It was delicious. There's this place by my house. It's all you can eat, but it's not a buffet. It's like they serve you there, and my kids want to go there. They eat one bowl of noodles there. That's it, noodles and chicken, and they think it's like they're eating sushi. So I'm like, great. If my kids want to go for sushi, I'm like all for it. You know.
Wait till they get big and you take them out to eat, and the bill comes. It's like
it's already heavy. It's already a heavy bill. And you know what the funny thing is? My son just likes the whole experience. He's like my dad. He wants the experience of going out. He doesn't even care if he eats anything. He just wants to hang out in the restaurant. You know.
Well, that's half the fun of eating out. Is just someone serving you, and you know.
Last week, my son Max bought me dinner.
What? He's got a job?
First time job. You got to fight. Kid almost makes his money. He is doing. Kid's doing amazing.
What's he doing?
He got a job at this metal recycling company,
right.
Giant company, really huge company. They recycle metal and plastic and all kinds of shit.
Right.
And he just started, working in the warehouse. And he works hard, and they like that. And they kept bumping him up, and now he's making $20 an hour now as a man and managing his division. Yeah. With benefit.
We know Max is smart. We knew that. I mean, I could tell you that when he was a little kid.
Yeah.
It's like the John Romano, will he apply himself thing, right?
Will he apply himself?
Would he talk back to you, John, when he was little, 10, 11?
Yeah. No, he went through phases. He would do this mischievous thing when he was pissed off when he was little, and he would come and get you and tell you he did it. Like he would go in, he was like 2. We'd go into the dining room and he'd take all the chairs and he'd lay them down, and then or all around the table. Then he'd come find me and he'd say, "I laid all the chairs down." I'd say, "Okay, well, you're gonna go pick them all up now." So we went through that. Then when he didn't really ever get mouthy. He got like defiant. He would just exercise his will basically. But I don't think he ever got. I never remember getting into a talking back situation with him. Do you, Dave? You remember?
No, I mean, you had a different dynamic too because the mother wasn't there. You were kind of like a single parent, so it was like kind of, and he was probably traumatized from before you took him away, and when he went to live with you. So I think he was so appreciative to be there with you that you guys kind of had a better bond, maybe.
Yeah, we did get along really well. I mean, I thought we did. I mean, I never really had problems with him until he got into his 6th, 17th. Yeah,
that's kids. Right. Yeah.
My mother always says a 17-year-old boy is probably the scariest thing in the entire world.
My son's pretty terrorizing right now, but we had a busy weekend. I wanted to bring up first, I don't know if you saw on Phil's Instagram, Phil Heath's Instagram, Chris. Did you see some of the pictures he's been posting?
No, so post them up, Dave.
Since
you have the technology.
Yeah. Yes, and knows how to use it.
He's posting ab shots, and he's saying that he's going to compete. He's getting ready for something. He doesn't really say what it is he's getting ready for, but I don't know if it's going to be the Rock show because I know he's getting with them, or if it's going to be something else. He's obviously not doing the Olympia this year that I know of, but he's looking pretty shredded. His midsection looks good. What do you suspect is going on?
That he's probably going to. I would imagine a good move would be to get ready for the Rock show. One, they're friends. 2, It's The Rock. 3, mentally he's probably moved on from the Olympia.
Yeah.
And 4, out of excitement. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for him to move on mentally from the Olympia. And in addition to that, the idea that he could be the inaugural winner of the Rock show, in terms of you know, where that puts him as a marquee bodybuilder, marquee meaning out there, like in the press with The Rock. I mean, it's exciting to be with The Rock and, you know, get the trophy from The Rock and hang out with The Rock and, you know, The Rock says, and the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's big for bodybuilding.
I don't know if you see one of the comments is by Patrick Bet David. You know, the guy who interviewed him. I don't know if you saw that interview he did with him. He's like, so, something must be cooking. So
why would we all want to do the Rock show? I mean, that's going to be phenomenal.
He looks like he's in contest shape now, though, Chris. Unless I'm being bamboozled.
Post another picture. Post another. I mean, you can only see his abs. Yeah, you can only see his abs, which his abs look good there. You know. I
don't know if he has any other pictures from recent.
If he shows up like that, he wins the show. See that top photo, that most muscular from the Ironman?
Yeah, that was a long time ago, though.
Yeah. We all had that one day.
He had another picture like the other day. I don't know where it is. Maybe it disappeared somewhere. I don't know where he put it. There was another picture of him like looking really good, like close up. I don't see it, but
think Kai will do the Rock show?
I think Kai wants to do the Olympia from what Chris he told for John from what he told me. There's the Rock and Phil.
Yeah. Man, Rock dwarfs Phil.
It's the Flex Wheeler angle, I always call it.
Yeah, and the Rock is behind him too, so he should look even
Dave, a Kai Phil rematch at Rock show, publicity wise and excitement wise amongst bodybuilding would be like, I mean, the headliner of the last 7 years.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what about Kai's in shape, so I mean it's.
Well, Kai sent me that video last week.
Right, with him.
I don't even know if we talked about that on this show.
No, you didn't. He looked really good. You sent it to me.
Yeah, he sent it to me too. He looked really good.
Let me pull that up. Hold on. I mean, he wanted to know what I thought about him competing. He said he was serious.
Kai should always compete. There should never be a question of Kai competing. I mean, him not competing robs all of us of a great show. So there's no question that Kai should compete as much as possible.
Well, I mean, the fact that he's actually asking me and actually told me, here, take the video and put it up. He obviously has an intention. You know, this is him from the other day. This is not an old video.
Yeah, this is just a couple days ago.
He sent it to me and said, "What do you think? Do you think I should compete? How should I go about?" He was actually asking me my opinion, which was nice of him. You know, he said, "Look, I respect you. You've been following my career and, you know, supportive of me, you know, my whole career. What do you think? I'm 10 weeks out. You think I can do it?" I said, and he's on very little supplements, according to him, right now. So I said, "You could absolutely do it." I said, "You look better than probably 90% of the guys who are going to do the show
right now."
Right now, yeah. I mean, look at those legs. I mean,
the way he moves is just hypnotizing.
Yeah. And he's not a young guy anymore. You know, he's in his 40s now, and he's still moving like that. That's great. He missed his calling. He should have been on Broadway. Is really what he should have been.
Absolutely.
He completely missed his calling, I think.
Dude, he could have been WWE.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, but I don't know if I would have liked
with that mask right there, Dave.
Yeah. I don't know if he would have liked that though. You know, because he
could have wrote the storyline. He would have had to come in as the co-creative artist. You know how they write storylines?
Yes. Yeah. He could. He would have had to have. I don't think he would have. You know what? He probably would have got sucked into it because they would have said, "Kai, can you jump from the ceiling of the arena down into the ring? We'll put a little pillow there for you to break your fall."
Yeah, into a split.
Yeah. He would have been like, "Okay," and for the crowd, anything, you know.
Right. He would have definitely done that.
Which is not good for your
anything.
Not good for your crotch, that's for sure. What do you think of Ramy? Have you seen the Ramy pictures?
Nope. Dave's looking everywhere.
Dave's got everything. I'm just tuning in here from now on.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Olympia's coming up. This is a recent shot of Ramy, according to Ramy, and his waist looks teeny tiny in this picture.
Tiny waist.
That's because his shoulders and his rest of him look so.
No, his midsection is smaller.
It looks smaller.
For sure.
I think the rest of him looks bigger. Maybe it's both.
Well, I mean, his delts are going to look bigger. His waist looks great there.
Yeah,
he's never had an issue with waist, really.
No,
but it looks tiny there.
Yeah, he's definitely. He looks like he's in pretty good shape for 10 weeks out.
In very good shape.
Which I think is a smart move to keep him leaner, for a longer period of time. Obviously,
yeah.
When you bring someone down from 230, I think 330 down to 280, your skin isn't so resilient with that anymore. So as you get older, that skin stretches out; it doesn't come back.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. I have these old guys, these 60-year-old guys, 70-year-old guys come to me and they're like, what can I do for the skin? I said, well, you have two options. I said, you could either go get it surgically tightened. I said, or you can add muscle and try to, have it stretch out.
There's some of those goops work a little bit.
Which stuff?
Some of those goops that you put on for tightening your skin.
I don't know. I think a lot of times they just remove water from under the skin, but I notice I have like along my lower back, just right. I have no fat on my body, but I have on my like lower back area, I have like a little fold of skin that literally that you couldn't measure the thickness of it. There is no thickness, but I think it's because I was bigger and I stretched my skin out. It just is not going back to the way it was.
I have that too. Same thing.
But it's not like hanging or anything like that. It's not like annoying me, but
mine annoys me.
I don't have anything on the front, which is good. I find that as long as I don't see it myself, it doesn't bother me. Like if I comb my hair back, in the morning, I put my hair gel in it, and sometimes I'll take a mirror and I'll look in the mirror to see like what the hair looks from behind, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not looking behind. As long as it looks good from the front, I'm okay.
Yeah, you're not getting your rear camera shots. Right?
As long as I can't see it, I'm like my father. As long as I don't see it, I think I look good from the front. I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. Anyway. So we had the all right. So getting back to my Phil and Kai thing.
Yeah.
So you don't think Phil, based on how he looks right now, is getting ready for anything like this year?
Me, I don't think he's going to get ready for anything but the anything but the Rock show. I think
you don't think there's any hope of him like at the last minute saying, "Hey, I want to do the Olympia." Or
there's no hope that he'll do the Arnold because he won't do it for the money because it's
the
not enough.
Olympia.
And then the Olympia. I think that he's probably figured out that Ramy would be hard to beat as a one defending champion. Ramy already beat you once. Two, and there's probably the idea that in his mind that, he should have been no lower than second.
Right.
So, maybe he's taken that personally, why should I go back to the Olympia where, I'm 7-time or whatever, you're 6 or 7-time champion. And, even if you consider it a close call between him and Brandon, why not give the 6-time champion the nod for the runner-up position? So
because he's a dick.
7-time champion.
7-time, and then the attraction. I mean, you can't quantify really the potential effect that the Rock show has on bodybuilding, because if it's for some reason like a quasi flop, which it won't be, then it won't happen again probably the next year. But if it's a huge success, then it's going to happen again. And what's going to make it a success is you're going to get the competitors who are going to go into the show because of the money and because of Rock's name. And, if real money is handed out and there's extra attraction outside the bodybuilding world because it's the Rock show. I know the Olympia has 50 years of tradition, but traditions can die quickly.
That's true.
They can be bought.
I'm not saying the Olympia becomes a second-tier show, but the Arnold really in the last 10 years has never rivaled the Olympia. When it started out, the hoopla, the excitement, Arnold was in his heyday, just like Rock's in his heyday. Yeah. It came out like gangbusters, and everyone assumed that the Arnold was going to become a bigger show than the Olympia. I mean, it became a bigger event, but not a bigger bodybuilding show.
Well, didn't they keep it that way on purpose? Wasn't there this agreement that between Arnold and Joe that the Arnold could never be more than the Olympia or some shit like that?
Possibly, but whether it was intentionally or unintentionally.
Why do you think that was? You think that was just because Arnold and Joe were friends? I mean, what would be the reason?
to not take the prestige of the Olympia title away.
Since when does Arnold care about like allowing anyone else to have more prestige than him, though? You know.
Well, when Joe was alive, I think that was an issue. You know.
Yeah.
But now is the Rock show definitely happening? Do we know definitively?
It hasn't been announced yet, but I hear it's going to be sometime in April. That's what I'm hearing.
So, but it's definitely happening.
That's what I hear. Yeah, that's the rumor mill. You know,
And
until the Rock makes the announcement, obviously it's not official.
Right. And it's supposed to be like crazy prize money.
I heard $1 million per division, but I don't know. You know,
$1 million total purse or $1 million first place?
$1 million purse per division. That's what I heard. Maybe you know, it starts getting whacked out. I heard $1 million for first place. I think it's $1 million per division. That's what I hear.
But that's
which would be very good for the other divisions. You know what I mean? Because the other divisions are so underpaid normally. You know.
But the Olympia is like or it's like $1 million total purse. The Olympia.
It's $1 million total, I think, purse.
Right. Okay.
Or a little more than that. You know, imagine the bikini champion makes him like, you know, $800,000 or something like that. You know, that would be pretty amazing for them.
That's what we really need.
Yeah. Hey, everyone deserves to make money. Hey, you know, I don't know if you guys saw Ron Popeil died, the infomercial guy.
Pocket fisherman. Set it
and forget it.
Yep.
He had the egg beater, right? You see Dave? Do you remember the egg beater where you put the little needle in the egg and it scrambles it on the inside?
Oh, he did that too. I didn't even realize that.
He had a lot of shit, man. That guy was freaking rich, man.
Yeah. He invented a lot of those things himself, you know, too.
The pocket fisherman, that was on TV for 100 years. How
about the Chop-O-Matic?
Chop-O-Matic, the oven that you set and forget thing, and the what else? He had a ton of shit.
He had the hairspray.
The hair, yeah.
Oh, that's right. The spray on hair. Yeah, yeah. The Bass-O-Matic, too. Oh, no.
That was Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live did the skit on the Bass-O-Matic. Yeah, they made a spoof on it. That was great.
Then they did the chinchilla, the one with the chinchilla one, too. Great chinch.
I love people that are that innovative, you know what I mean? Because it really, you know, people probably thought he was crazy when he first came up with these ideas and to market it on TV. But he was a genius in a sense that he proved that you could sell anything on TV. Yep. If you make it sound appealing enough. You can sell things that people don't even need. That's the funny thing.
Like pocket fishermen.
Well, fishermen obviously need it.
It was that thing was on TV so many times, you know.
My father bought so much crap when in his older years from those infomercials at night. People sit there and watch. They think I got to have it. They convince you got to have it.
Well, they give you a free gift too.
Right. Yeah, that was his shtick too.
Yeah, if you order now, if you order now, there's only 25 left.
Yep.
You know, you got to order now.
Not only I'll give you one, I'll give you two for the price of one. $19.99, right? Everything was $19.99.
I love those pioneers of early, you know, TV commercials. You know, him, Crazy Eddie was another one that was one of my favorites.
But Crazy Eddie was a crook. That's the only difference. But this guy was the real deal. Oh, look who's joining us, Xavier Wills.
Hey, what's up, Dave? How you doing?
How's it going down there in Aussie land?
Yeah, it's not bad apart from all the lockdowns that's happening at the moment. Like it's madness. Like Sydney, like all of New South Wales are locked down.
It's a woke country, John. The whole country's woke. Woke Australia.
You know what though? Everything's locked down there, but I don't think the rates of infection have gone down any from all the lockdowns, have they? From what I understand?
No, in New South Wales, I mean, they started at like 100 cases a day, and now it's up to like 200 something cases a day, and people are losing their minds. So it's funny.
You guys get fined, right? If you leave the house, like you can get like a $5,000 fine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like where I am right now, I'm good because as long as I don't travel to New South Wales or Queensland at the moment, they call them these snap lockdowns. So they say we've gone into a snap lockdown. They'll announce it at midday, and they say it's 6 p.m. You got to be home, basically, and it's like. It's just craziness, and it's like
you got parents again, John, right?
Well, see, I think that's interesting because the virus is active only at certain hours because then you got home at 6 because the virus is coming out. But then you can get out and at 7 in the morning because the virus is sleeping. So, you know,
Yeah, it's madness, honestly. Like right now, like at sporting events, you can't have anyone there at certain ones. In certain states, you can. In certain ones, you can't. And then, they call these snap lockdowns, and you have to go basically straight into lockdown, and gyms close and all that sort of stuff. But then apparently, one state the brothels opened, but the gym stayed closed. So it was like, how's that working?
gotta prioritize. Gotta keep your priorities straight.
You know, at the
Essential
Olympics
thing.
in Japan, once your event's over, you got 48 hours to get out of there. That almost sounds like an NPC show, so they could sell more tickets. You know? Except there's no one there watching. They just want you out of the country. You know,
That's hilarious.
Unbelievable. Now I tell people whenever I get confused or I forget something, I tell them I got the twisties. You know, from the whole Simone Biles thing. Have you been following the Simone Biles on the Olympics?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit about it, but I actually heard on Joe Rogan, he said something about that she was on some sort of medication before she went there, but it's disallowed in Japan or something like that.
Really?
And she's actually gone off some sort of medication. I don't know if that's true or not.
Simone Biles has ADHD, whatever. You know, since she's a kid, she's been taking this medication. And in Japan, that medication is not allowed. But just like any other, professional organization, they got clearance ahead of time, obviously, for her to be able to take her medication. So she does have her medication there. So that was a rumor I heard that came out. And my wife's into the whole gymnastics thing because she was a gymnast, so she knows all the gossip on that. She's got some kind of emotional problems, obviously, that got to her head. Look, she's there without her family. You in Japan, they don't let anyone go. All these athletes are there alone, unless you had a coach that can actually is part of the coaching staff on the Olympics team. Everyone's alone. And she freaked out, obviously, and she got something they call the twisties, where they lose. They can't figure out where they are in the air when they're doing their flips. And she's got her head, and she can't do this. Supposedly, she's going to do beam, the last event she qualified. She had dropped out of everything else. She's doing one event, the beam. I don't know how she figured this one out, but that's
the one with the highest chance of cracking your skull.
Yeah. And my wife said that's the easiest one because it requires the least amount of flipping and turning. But she'll probably modify her dismount because the dismount was a very difficult dismount. It's crazy. It's like the world's strongest man not being able to lift anything. I mean, take away your superpowers, right? Right before at the biggest event of your life, right? That's what it's like.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I think we should have had her have a little sit down with who's. Maybe George Farah could have sat down with her and straightened her out.
Just giving her some rice.
They should have called George. He would have figured it out, right? Right, Chris?
They could have called Dr. Phil. He could have yelled at her.
Yeah, there you go. I got no sympathy. Sorry.
I feel bad that it happened to her, but you know what? Usually these things are something that's been building for a long, long time period. It's not like it just didn't happen overnight, It's crazy because we're not used to seeing, the greatest of them all, so to speak, not being able to compete at the biggest event of her life. So it's kind of sad in a way, I guess. I don't know. When I see the Olympics and I hear these stories, what these people go through and how they get there, I get teary eyed. I'm very inspired by the Olympics for some reason. I don't know why. Like the sacrifices people make to get there. There was one girl who was supposed to be the vault expert there, Jade. I forget what her last name is. My wife knows, and she flubbed her vault. She stutter stepped, and you know what? I found out they didn't allow them to warm up because they didn't want to screw the TV schedule up. So these girls were warming up on a different apparatus somewhere else, and then they come to the one they're actually going to do the event on, and they didn't let them do any warm up vaults. So they all had their steps all off. I mean, how ridiculous is that they don't let these girls warm up because they're afraid it's going to throw the TV schedule that no one's actually watching because it's at 2 a.m. because it's in Tokyo. Nuts.
Makes sense. Makes total sense in this day and age.
Right? I mean,
if it was anything else, I would say, what the hell? Something's wrong.
She came back and won the gold medal on the floor routine, though. So that was a good comeback. So anyway, her dad was there with her. Her dad's her coach, and you could tell after because when you're running down the runway for the vault, if your steps are off, you could actually run past the thing, and you can do that 3 times with being able to repeat the vault. It doesn't count. Why she didn't run off and just resume and start over, I don't know. And you could tell her father, who was there, he was the coach on the side, was like talking to her. I was almost crying. I'm thinking, if that was my kid, I would want to like kill her almost. And he sat there, he talked to her, and she came back the next day and she won the other event, gold medal. So she obviously came back and was, that's a true champion. As someone who could overcome the obstacles, can not worry about the screw up they did the day before and come back at their best the next day. I applaud those people, because you know what?
Yeah.
How many people have the mental fortitude to be able to do that?
And not drop out, not cost
Right.
team medals. Yeah, like that. That's the way to do it.
That's a champion. Champions
Right.
find a way to win. I always say it. I mean, in every sport, including bodybuilding.
Everywhere.
How many years did Dorian do it for? Dorian had a torn bicep in 94. He had in 97 when 97 when he won the last Olympia. He had a torn quad and tricep, and he found a way to win. You might not agree with the decision, but he won. So, he's got that Sandow in his mantle case.
Yep.
He didn't quit. He could. A lot of guys would have not done the show. You know it. We see guys tearing muscles all the time. They drop out.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Fuck that! I trained too hard for this. I'm not going to drop out."
All the difficulties you encounter in prepping for any competition anywhere is just part of the deal. If it was easy, everybody be a gold medal winner, champion, Sandow owner, or whatever. The whole point of this shit is it's hard, and you're the top of best #1 in the world. And sorry, a lot of people want that spot. So you either got to perform, figure it out, come back, be a champion, and win. But if you quit, someone else is taking your spot.
That's the truth. Amen
David,
to that. I mean,
what do you think about guys like pulling out of contest preps and stuff like that now with like COVID? Like, just say guys in Australia, because comps are so like up in the air with everything, and people are going, do we bother or not? Especially like the pros out here, because they haven't been able to compete since, like, my good friend Aaron Pilates came 9th in the 212 Olympia back in 2019. Yeah. Hasn't been able to compete anywhere since. So he's like, in limbo in the prime of his career. He's only 32 years of age, and he's like, he was on the up. So what do you recommend to like all the pros out here,
Imagine what Sean Roden must feel like when they said you can't defend your Olympia title, and he was 44.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he's 46 now.
I mean, at least he won the Olympia, but you know what? He did. More than likely, he would have repeated as Olympia champion at least 1 year. I mean, and they're still not letting him compete. And the trial still hasn't happened yet. So I mean, I don't know. It's like I feel like I feel bad for people who don't have the ability to do something that they're great at.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that, Chris? I know you have a strong opinion.
With regards to what Xavier said about people not being able to compete, this has been. They're not in Australia unique, and because all over the world the shows have been canceled, postponed. I mean, there's a show next week in Tunisia, a big show that they just postponed. So a lot of people getting ready for shows have had to either, try to pick another show. I mean, I know people have picked shows and picked another show and picked another show, canceled. So I mean, the stress of having to prep with the unknown of, is the show actually going to go on, is a huge one. And with regards to Sean, frankly, some people may have blown their brains out.
Yeah, and we know people that have,
because simply you were at the top of your game, you chased that title for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, you get it in 18, and you have issues, legal issues, and the end of 18, and here we are 19, 20, 21, nothing.
This guy, he got, he had the best year stolen from him, really, is what it amounts to. And I don't know if he could ever come back as good as he was. I mean, he's not a young man anymore,
Well, age counts, man. I mean,
Look at it hurt Muhammad Ali, when he lost those years. It hurt Mike Tyson when he lost those years, right?
Plus,
they were younger. They were younger men than Sean.
They were younger. Yeah.
Sean was the oldest to win it.
Sure.
Plus, when you miss a year and a 2 and 3, the other competition is advancing.
Right.
Well, John, I mean, we discussed this about Rolly. Rolly missed essentially a year.
Right.
What I mean? I mean, for whatever reason, he didn't compete. I know he had like a leg injury, but he came back like a shell of like the complete freakazoid that we're used to seeing. I mean, he looked good by himself, like things pop on the most muscular and side chest. And, when he comes out, you think like, well, looks like he might be, quote, I hate that word, downsized. Downsized sounds like you did it deliberately.
Right.
And then when in comparisons, he was like the 5th biggest in the lineup. So he's not young either.
Right.
And he had like a year off. Rodin's had, we're coming up on 18, 19, 20, 3 years off.
Yeah.
Chris, do you think because obviously Sean stayed bigger in his off season or got to this size where he's sort of maintaining more size than he normally would have in his off season, where he normally, would shrink down a bit and get out of condition. He's just sort of a little bit out of condition now. Do you think that he could be better at this age, at 46 now, if he was going to compete in 2021 than he was back when he won the Olympia?
I don't think anyone at 46 is as good as they are at 42, 39, 37, from tennis to bodybuilding to football to, age. How old are you, Xavier? Say, you prove my point.
I'm 31.
I knew it. Not even 32. At 41, you won't be able to train the way you can train today.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. And you know what? Time and age catch up to everyone. So, I thought, this year, if Sean had the ability to get into the show, if people, quote, let him in the show, whoever that is, then this might be, maybe he can pull it together. I mean, because he's 46 too. There's only one person, people, Dexter was a bantamweight, unheard of. Nobody, it'll never happen again. Won 90 shows or whatever it is, 35 shows. A Dexter comes around once in 50 years.
Yep.
So just because he was competitive doesn't mean everyone is competitive at that age.
Yeah. Well, there was a pro show this week in Mexico. I think, John, you've told me the setups in Mexico. I'm surprised we don't have more pro shows in Mexico, to be honest with you. It seems like there's no rules there anyway. Like no one cares about anything there. I would move everything to Mexico. Move the Olympia there.
There is a gym in Mexico City owned by some very friendly narcos that it is perhaps the most. Charles Glass did a appearance there. It is the most incredible place I've ever seen. It's probably 400,000 square feet.
Wow.
It's enormous. It's got
What's the name of it?
Auditorium to put on bodybuilding shows. It seats 1,500 people. Wow. And it's got a loading dock in the back where there's like a whole pump up area. You can back a truck up, unload equipment, have this whole show there. It's got, floors and floors of all kinds of everything. And it's the membership's like $500, 5,000 pesos a year. It's like nothing.
What's that, like $10?
I don't know whatever it is now. It's cheap, but other than that, you in Mexico, if you know the right people and know who to grease, you can get anything done, anything. Right. So to have a bodybuilding show go off flawlessly in Mexico with all of the ease of everything doing there would be an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah,
I don't know why they don't do it.
Yeah, well. I don't know. It's easy to get into Mexico too. That's the only. Now, Noel Adami won the. I guess this is the first annual Puerto Vallarta Pro 212. So he's going back to the Olympia. Looking pretty freaky. This guy's a short little fire plug of a freak. I love the crazy muscle and density and conditioning he always brings to the stage. I think he's one of the more underrated 212 guys. Chris,
I think so too.
Yeah, no, he's underrated. He's one of the freakiest. He's one of the freakiest for sure. And he's in good condition here, but he brings at different shows different levels of condition.
Yeah,
and I think he's just trying to figure it out because he's come into shows he's won shows for sure. He's been to the Olympia, but he's not done so great at shows where I thought he should have been higher, where he's been peeled out of his mind. So, maybe here he's just trying to come in a little bit bigger. I mean, it's a great look. but he can even bring it in tighter than this. He's done it in the past, and
I think he knew there was no competition. Chris is what it was here.
Yeah, probably. So he just has to be hard enough to win.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a stellar class. You had Esteban Bravo in second and Leonardo Cardoza in third. I mean, not household names in the 212 for sure. These are mostly Central America, South American, and Mexican bodybuilders in this. So congratulations to Noel. He definitely belongs at the Olympia. I'm glad he's requalified.
I thought he was awesome, Dave. Like even in Indiana, like earlier in the year, I think he came about 5th in that show. I thought that like he could have been compared to the top 3 easily. He was like in great condition. He was big, freaky in a lot of poses. Maybe didn't flow as well as some of these other guys, but like just size and conditioning was definitely there.
There's really no flaws in his physique at all. Aside from maybe structurally, he doesn't even need to add any more muscle on his body. He's that good. And he does bring a level, not at this show, but he can get conditioned to the point of Andreas Munza conditioning.
Wow. Do you know who the promoter was for that show?
No, I'm not sure.
Puerto Vallarta? I want to see if I know him.
You should see. You got to hold a pro show there, the John Romano Classic down in Mexico.
I would love to.
That would be a stellar. You probably could find some narcos to put up the money too. Maybe they could even make it more than the Rock's prize money over there. They got to find Jose Guzman's stash of.
You got to find a narco who likes bodybuilding, and they're just really aren't any.
You got to get like a narco schmo, who's willing to funnel his winnings into bodybuilding instead of into supermarkets or something like that.
Like a cross between Carlos Escobar and Steve
Blackman. Hey, John, we can start a supplement line. It's being called Narco Supplements. Woo! You snort all the pre-workouts will be snortable. They'll come in a straw.
Yeah, snortable pre-workout. Give new meaning to the. What do they call that? Dry scooping now. We'll give
Didn't
new.
Some girl die from the dry scooping. Yeah,
that's another word I got to add to my list of annoying fucking common terms that they use today with the rest of them.
Cruising is number 1 on my list.
Oh fuck, I hate that.
I'm cruising for your cruising.
Well, blasting cruise. Don't forget blasting
cruise. Yeah,
right. Running, Slin, VAR. What else? Bridging. Bridging is one of my favorites. Bridging. We all bridge. We got to bridge.
I created the cheat meal, John, and they ruined it by calling it the refeed.
The refeed.
I hate that one.
Another one. The refeed.
Yeah. Dave, because refeed sounds like you need it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
Right.
I think I'm pretty sure I invented the term cheat meal for bodybuilding, not for regular life, but
right.
And then they went and they ruined it by turning it into refeed. So politically correct, right?
Yeah. And so many coaches say, I don't like to use that word cheat meal. I like to use refeed. Like it's like what's the difference if you're doing the same thing? It doesn't matter.
One is scientific.
Refeed is to me. Refeed means you're just eating more food that's good for you, not necessarily crap food. The cheat meal is a crap meal,
Well, well, you got woke, so the wokeness took the cheat out. So now you're probably not even probably is some sort of victimhood if you actually cheat with your meals. So in order to prevent mass victimhoods, we're gonna make it a refeed.
Right. We don't want to insult anyone. Any people.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So because the refeed sounds beneficial, whereas the cheating is nefarious at best.
George Carlin could definitely, if he knew bodybuilding back in the day, he could have done a great run on all the different words.
Can you imagine?
It's like global warming versus climate change.
Yeah.
Right.
Cheat meal refeed.
Bridging sounds like you're doing something good, right, for bodybuilding.
Oh yeah,
you're bridging your game.
All I'm doing, Dave, is staying on that bridge so I can stay big when I don't want to shrink.
So that when the bridge collapses and you wind up in kidney failure, what is it?
It sounds like planking. It's like bridging is good for your neck and planking works your abs. So
there you go. Now, the Aussies have some great abbreviations for everything. What do you guys have any other ones that we don't know about, Xavier?
We shorten everything, so we put like an A or a Y in of everything, like Macca's. Like they're even running like McDonald's like ads, like you made us Macca's Australia, like all this sort of stuff now. Like, and they shorten everything as well. Like if like I think you guys have the same show, like Married at First Sight. We call it Maths now. Or they just call it Married. They're like, Married is on at 7:30. What? Like, tune in. And I don't know why. It's like, how do you just assume with one word we'll get the whole like show? Like, Married is on. Like, what does that mean?
Breakfast is brekkies over there, right?
Yeah, brekkie. When like I don't know what you guys call it when like tradies have their first break. Call it smoko over here. I don't know why.
No, smoko.
That. But and it's funny. I get clients as well, and they say, "Oh yeah, for smoko I have this." Like it just sounds weird to me. But they use that sort of description.
What? Smoke? Say that again.
So like when like when a tradie will have like a tradie. I don't even know what a tradie is. It's someone who does a trade. So
a tradie is someone who works like construction, John.
Oh, okay. I thought he said tranny at first. And I thought, I'm gonna get Greg on the show.
Tradies have smokers. No, but yeah, smoko is just like your first break basically at work. So people call it smoko. So they're like, oh, you have a protein shake for smoko and then this for lunch and blah blah. So yeah, we got a ton of
get a smoky.
Well, I used to think when people started saying it as well, because it was never like a big thing. I'm like, oh, so they have a smoke and then they eat this. Like that's honestly what I thought people was talking about, but that's just what they call that break. I don't know. It's weird. We have a lot of weird slang, and I'll say it to people, and I forget that it's actually slang. It just becomes it's just normal for us,
Well, I have guys sometimes hitting me with abbreviations too, which drive me crazy, like NPP, Nandrolone phenylpropionate. I don't even know what people are talking about sometimes when they hit me with some of these initials. They're like, I'm on. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's why, Dave, how many times do I text you, Dave? Have you ever heard of especially when it's got numbers?
yeah, numbers and letters. And I'm like, can't people just use the term? I don't know.
I'm adding NPP to my list of obnoxious things.
Yeah, I forgot that one, John. It came up.
That definitely belongs on the list.
Neppy in Australia. NPP.
Yeah. Trend cough. That's another one. What do they call that? This is,
but that's legit. Trend cough's legit. I've gotten that many times. But
now I have to.
Yeah. Have we ever figured that out? Did we talk about that? Well, what causes that?
George Tuliatos kind of gave me probably the best explanation. I think constriction of the blood vessels in the lungs. Why that happens in response to that trenbolone acetate. I think the acetate is such a quick ester. It gets in the bloodstream. Maybe it causes a vasoconstriction in the lungs and you can't get enough oxygen exchange, I think.
It's odd that it would happen sometimes and not. You would think if it had an X effect, it would happen all the time.
Yeah, I always found that the closer you inject it to your lung area, the quicker it hit. So if you injected your glutes, it didn't necessarily affect that much. When I would do lats, I would get the trend cough instantly.
I get in my shoulder, the pin would still be in there, and I'd start packing.
That's close to your lungs. That's why I thought maybe that's because it's got to get into the bloodstream and then get to the lungs, I guess, to cause that problem. I mean, it's not the injection itself that's doing it.
I always thought maybe I got it in a vein or an artery or something. I didn't know it.
Yeah, someone saying people thought it was benzoyl. No, because all these preservatives, all these steroids are preserved the same pretty much. It's got to be something intrinsically in the tren acetate itself. It doesn't happen with the. I never had it happen with Parabol, so
I had it happen with Test the other.
Test Cypionate used to do that to me a little bit too. Yeah. So I'm assuming it's the ester linkage that's causing it. Maybe the acetate in the tren, and maybe the cypionate linkage. I don't know.
It's interesting.
It's an interesting thing, and it doesn't happen all the time.
Did you ever try to hold it off by swallowing? Get that weird feeling where you go, and then as soon as you start coughing, you're just fucked.
Yeah. No, it's. I'll tell you one thing. That the scariest thing I ever did. It happened to me a couple times. Is I took a shot in my lat, and there's that long thoracic nerve there. I think that goes through there. Anyway, I must have irritated it with whatever I pushed in, and you get this feeling down your whole arm that goes to your fingertips. It almost feels like there's fire water running through your veins. It's the craziest feeling because you're firing. That nerve is firing at 100,000%.
I want to go try that later.
I was slamming my hand on the counter to try to get it to stop the burning feeling. And it happened to me about 2 or 3 times during my career. It was always a lat shot, and I had to assume once again that it was probably I was too close to a nerve, and maybe pushing the fluid in was kind of like you hit the nerve a little bit and caused it to fire. But man, right down to my fingertips, I would swear that I had lava inside of my hands. That's how much it hurt and burned. Wow. And I've had other people ask me about that. So it's funny because I always believe that all the crazy, weird things that happen to me, it happens to me so that I can then be a teacher to other people when they contact me and say, hey, Dave, did you ever hear about this? No one else heard of it. Oh, it happened to me. Don't worry about it. You're fine. You'll be fine. I've had some weird shit happen to me, man, over the course of and it always has been helpful to me to give information to other people down the road because I'm not the only one it happens to. So
yeah, it's how you learn anything in this biz.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I did a show, I was all natural. I was on herbal diuretics, but I was restricting fluid for like 2 days. After the show, I was eating everything in sight and drinking, and I blew up like 40 pounds in 3 days. And I could have I swore I was in kidney failure. I mean, the pain in my kidneys were killing me. I went to the hospital. I was in medical school at the time. I went to the clinic there, and they were like, they ran them every test in the book. Everything came back normal. And they're like, the doctor came in and he was like, he goes, when I was in Korea, we didn't drink for a week. He goes, and we came back and we finally came back to camp. I drank a 6-pack. I drank a 24-pack of beer. I'm still here to this day. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I said, are my kidneys fine? He's like, yeah. So I went back and I started taking diuretics because then I realized I was afraid to take the diuretics because I thought I damaged my kidneys or something like that. I didn't know. I didn't realize that after a show, you have to stay on some diuretics for a couple of days so that you don't get that crazy rebound because that makes you feel terrible and you're like almost in congestive heart failure at that point.
Yeah, you got to bridge.
You gotta. I don't know what you would call it, but you definitely got to wean off the diuretics. You can't just stop them.
You got to bridge the diuretics you're running.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny, you know exactly the point after a show when they've worn off. You just instantly, like, if you just stop, but you just fill up straight away, and you feel bad, like your skin and everything stretches, your tan is like broken.
Your eyes turn till you become Asian. Is that politically correct, John? To be able to say that? You get slanty-eyed. I'm going to get
you said slanty eyes. Oh my
yes.
God!
I'm going to get the Asian contingency. I'm going to get like the phone call from them tomorrow.
YouTube's going to pull the plug on your show, Dave.
We're going to get canceled.
Yeah, I got pulled over yesterday by a cop. I got a ticket for the first time, and I can't even tell you how long. So I'm like, she pulls me over. As soon as it's a woman, whenever it's a guy, I always get off because they're always into bodybuilding or something like that. This woman pulls me over. I'm like, I'm getting a ticket, but I was very polite. I put my hands on the steering wheel. I rolled the windows down. I said, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. She's like, do you know why I pulled you over? I said, no disrespect. Idea. I said, I have no idea because I know I wasn't speeding. And she's like, back like a mile back. She's like, when you were leaving, and by the way, the reason I got the ticket was because I left my coffee at the bagel store, so I went back to the bagel store. If I hadn't gone back and I would have just said, screw it, for the 63 cents, I wouldn't have got the $163 ticket. So I was leaving the bagel store, and there's this like old lady in front of me. She was wanting to make a left turn, and I had to go straight. And she was standing, there was no cars anywhere. And she's there, and I'm honking my horn, and I'm like, go, go, go. And she didn't go, so I went around her, and I went straight. That was the illegal. I made a dangerous turn, supposedly, or illegal, dangerous.
You didn't.
I said, what was I supposed to do? I said the woman wasn't moving. She's like, that's breaking the law. So
how would you know? How would you even know it's breaking the law?
I didn't. You know what? I was trying to go through my head, mate, because I'm a speeder. I speed. I know that. I'm thinking, what did I do? I must have done something. I must have been speeding, but I really wasn't speeding, and I couldn't figure it out, and so I got a ticket. So it's the sins of the other stuff we do that creep up on us, and then we get the ticket for that. So
the last time I got pulled over, and the cop asked, "You know why I pulled you over?" What? And I said, "Probably because you want to give me one of those commendations for exceptional driving." I didn't do any fucking thing wrong.
Yeah. And what was it?
Something stupid like that. I went over the line or some shit. I don't even remember. It was ages ago. I went to court and the cop didn't even show up, so I got dismissed.
Yeah. So the question is, you have an option. You could either, plead guilty. Now it's so easy. You can go online and just pay the ticket. But there is some points associated with it. And I don't really want to pay $163 for that stupid cup of coffee I went back for. Or you could take like you can do some kind of a driving schools thing or something like that, safety thing. I don't know if it's online or if I have to go someplace. I don't know if it's worth the aggravation. I'm almost thinking just pay the fucking ticket and take the
Dave,
point.
you have no time. You just pay, and maybe you should call up and see if you can pay to make the points not be deducted from your license.
Maybe I can pay someone to take the course to me online.
But you don't have to even do that. There's in Florida they have those ticket clinic things where you go to it's like a lawyer. You go to his office, you pay X, and they file. But you know what? Honestly, most traffic tickets, if you go to court, you're going to win.
I don't have time though. Like Chris
why?
said.
The cop never shows up, or what?
Either the cop doesn't show up, the cop doesn't remember. I mean, if you do something really fucked up, I mean, yeah, you're dead. But
do you have Alan Dershowitz's number, Chris?
The cop,
No,
the cop not showing up is probably number one, Chris, because a lot of times they don't.
too busy.
Yeah.
Too much, yeah.
Nowadays, when they're not allowed to do anything, you might be taking a chance, and you might be. It might be a greater chance that he'll show up, because it's probably a better day to sit in court than sit out in the street.
Female cops always show up. That was my at least that's what one of my police officer friends told me. They like to go to the court. So,
do you know what's crazy here? I actually got pulled over once, and they do like random drug tests here. So they test for, marijuana and all that sort of stuff. And they tested me, and the test takes like 10 minutes to come back. So I'm just waiting there for 10 minutes. They came over to me and they said, "Do you know your license is suspended?" I was like, "Oh no, I had no idea." And I was like, "Oh, great." And I was like 2 minutes away from my home. So I was like, "Oh, awesome."
That's where it always happens around the corner from your house too. Yeah.
Yeah. And she goes to me, I said, "I don't even know what it's suspended from. Like, I don't know why." And she goes, "Oh, why didn't you vote?" And it was like, because voting's mandatory in Australia. And
what?
I said,
It is?
I said,
"Oh, what a communist country." I said, I recently moved house, blah, 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 around that time. And I didn't know, what area I had to go vote in and stuff, because you have to go vote in your specific area and all that sort of stuff. God. So I thought I'll just take the fine. I'm like, I don't really care anyway. It's like, they're normally really small. They're normally like $30-something. And then I go and checked it out, and it was like $168 or something like that. And I was like, ugh. And plus, they eventually, after like an hour of talking to them, they said, "We'll give you an exemption, so we'll write this so you can go home, and then you have to sort it out as soon as you get home." I was like, "Okay, yeah, pay the fine, and then you get your license back straight away." So I was like, I just didn't know your license was associated with voting if you didn't vote.
Listen, John, so he got his license suspended and he got fined $168. All because he didn't go vote.
Now, imagine that here, because you need a license. Right. You don't need the license to vote, but you need the license to drive the car to get to the voting place. So, I don't know how it's going to work out for you, dude. That's
it's rough. this is a while ago. It got sorted. Sorted.
Yeah. The funny thing is, would Trump have won or lost if everyone had a vote? That's the question. I don't know.
And it's crazy as well. Like, we've got like just like the absurdity of it, but like in the ACT Australia, so like everywhere the marijuana is illegal in Australia, apart from the ACT, which is like our capital, and that's where all the politicians go. So I don't know if it's legal there because of that reason or whatever, but they have laws where you can grow 2 of your own plants, but there's no way of actually being able to actually buy the plants physically, and there's no way of actually like legally getting in the seeds to or whatever to actually grow the plants. But you're allowed to have 2 plants, but
well, as a gift, you can receive a gift from like John, 2 plants and put it in your house. I can't give you 2 seeds though.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's like the laws don't make sense.
And you can't be high when you vote. That's another Australian law. They got to drug test you.
But you have to vote.
No, because they drug test you for getting a speeding ticket. I think they should drug test you when you go to the poll.
I didn't know that. I got to ask Lee Priest about the whole you have to vote thing. I didn't know that you had to vote over there. I guess it's a pretty good idea if you want to get the population to go out to the polls, right? You take the license away.
Yeah, there you go.
Know what the thing is? The 2 main parties here, they're almost exactly the same as each other. It's not like America where it's like
here
left
too,
and right. Yeah, so ours are like identical almost. Like they have, they just basically disagree with each other for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Because like one says one thing and then they go, "No, that's not the right thing to do," and it's just a shit show. But so people will go and vote and they just go, "Whatever, numbers on there, cool." Yeah, chuck it in the voting thing and then you're done. You don't get fined. So
it works. The Aussies know how to do everything. They make everything work somehow. You guys got too many rules over there. I thought we had a lot of rules over here. You guys got way too many laws over there.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous as well. Even with the vaccine thing, they're saying now, like I said, once we get to 70% of people vaccinated here, then they're going to allow the people that are vaccinated to have more privileges and benefits and all that sort of stuff in terms of like you can go to sporting events, you can do this. But then the latest thing came out that all the people that got COVID in Sydney, most of, I think 144 of them were all vaccinated. So I was like, is it working? Like, so it's just confusing. What?
Yeah. Let's talk about the USA Championships a little bit. Jordan Hutchinson wins the overall heavyweight and overall title. Chris, give me your insight on him.
Good condition, good balance, good color, good. You know what? He's like a when you start looking for weaknesses, there's less weaknesses to find on him than everyone else. And he's got some good strengths, which is, his condition's good. His front last squat's really good. His front double's really good. V-taper. Condition from behind's really good. I wouldn't say he's like a knockout winner, right?
He kind of reminds me of like a Dugdale, when Dugdale won the USA, he kind of had like no flaws. He flowed really well.
That's it, which is balance. And I think we touched on balance last week. I mean, balance of everything, condition, flow, shape, size. You don't have to be the biggest guy to win a show if you're big enough and you have condition everywhere, because some people have spotty condition too, right? Like he's got the glutes and hams. Sometimes people have like great detail in the back and then their hamstrings are weak, whether it's underdeveloped so you don't get the cords like this guy has. So, I mean, I think he won just basically on, the balance between those things that we look at. Size is good. Condition's really good. Flow is good.
Conditioning win shows, right? We say it all the time.
In this case, conditioning plus those other attributes. And I mean, I was making the point is, he didn't overwhelm people to win the overall, by any means, but he was good enough to win. It's not like we talked about before. He's not like a Cormier winner or Mike Francois winner.
Or a Nick Walker.
Nick Walker, mass monster.
In his front double, I think if he had slightly bigger, like the biceps peaked a little bit more, he would look so much more complete and impressive, I guess. Like,
we're gonna send him the pump and pose, Xavier.
Give me him up.
Whatever works, right?
Right. Whatever it takes.
Eric Wood, who was the second place finisher here, it was a very tight battle between these guys in the heavyweight class. I think this is really what it came down to, from at least what I saw on the scoring cards, which by the way are up on NPCNewsOnline.com. You can see all the scoring cards. I mean, this guy's really good too. I mean, you could really flip a coin for either one of these guys winning this show.
What do you think it came down to between the two?
I don't know. I think the glutes. I know, Chris, you hate glute shows. That are won by glutes, but it was a one-point decision.
Dave, I hate when someone wins a show and he has the craziest glutes on earth, and then he has like no back. I mean, we've seen that. That's when I say we do see that. I mean, we see like guys winning. It's a wow factor thing, don't you think? Oh yeah.
Chris got corrupted from working for Bleckman. That's the problem. What happened to my sound?
Oh no, can't hear Dave.
Dave, you're muted.
Yeah, Dave, we still can't hear.
Chris, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
I can hear Xavier, and you guys can hear me, but none of us can hear Dave.
Yeah, I mean, Dave's putting up the back double of the guy. I think this is the guy who got second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that the winner has more detail overall. I think the guy who got second is actually a bigger guy, wider, which probably shows up on stage. And, I think his quads may be bigger. But, when you take everything into consideration, I think, the winner was the winner. I would have picked him as well.
And I think the winner as well, like from the back, that's where I noticed the most difference, really. Like, I mean, this guy's in condition. When you look at his, like, you can see his outer quad there, those lines, like when he's side on, you can see those lines in the outer quad. And I think that looks awesome. And he looks dry. But, yeah, just development-wise, I suppose, on the upper body.
Yeah,
overall,
his upper body's way big. Yeah, definitely. I agree.
It's funny, John, that I mean, we've beaten a dead horse, but the number of people that turn out at the show, in the bodybuilding division, it just keeps taking another slope downwards.
I
mean, the level of competition was good,
but just not very many guys.
Total number, which means the attraction is bodybuilding, the class of bodybuilding is a sport, as opposed to classic or men's physique. Is it's. The writing to some degree is there on the wall, although the Olympia, right? We want to see Rolly bigger than ever and freakier than ever. Everyone wants to see that. They want to see the top pro shows with the top guys looking freakier than ever, bigger than ever. But in terms of the amateur events, it's one after another with less turnout.
Yeah, and they're all going to the classic and the board shorts, and they're moving out over to other divisions. I don't know, man. I think you have to be such a genetic freak these days to be a top level bodybuilder that, a lot of guys are realizing that they don't have that, and they're going to try to apply what they do have in a lower division.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Let's see if Dave's got his volume.
You got my camera now?
Yeah, there you go.
You got it.
My batteries and my microphone pack died. How about that?
Incredible.
Poor preparation on my part.
Yep.
But what you were saying, Chris, as well, it seems like, and John as well, the top tier talent, in the amateurs and also in the pros, seems to be sort of staying there. But then all the guys that can't make it will move to classic, will move to men's physique and things like that. Which, honestly, that's what I did. I was my legs couldn't come up enough, and just as an amateur, and I went from classic, and then I was just I can do way better in men's physique and actually potentially turn pro and just be able to almost just treat that as a thing that I enjoy doing, because I know I'm not going to get to a certain level where I'd want to get to in these other divisions. I just know it. Genetically, I don't have the genetics to put on a huge amount of muscle. It's just what it is. And then
we'll point it out too, Xavier, that to get to the level where you want to get at to be a successful pro open guy, it takes a lot more time than classic.
Yeah.
Just because the judging factor, of course, is still predominantly size, which takes more time than it would. So somebody might say, you know what, I'll take the classic route, and be a very competitive classic guy. And then you've seen classic guys move to, 212, and, so they've taken that time, and with time they've grown into the 212, or as Brett Wilkin did, he went from the bikini class right into the open.
How about Ben Pollock, the super heavyweight winner? I was very impressed with him.
Yeah, he's very big.
I'm shocked that he didn't win the overall, to be honest.
Yeah, you know what? How close was it on the scorecards, Dave?
I don't think they scored the overall.
He looked really good, big. I mean, he's legitimately big. A lot of people, they weigh a lot, right? But they don't. It doesn't translate. A lot of super heavies come in with a big weight on the scale. It doesn't translate onto the stage. I don't know what he weighed in at, but he looks, big.
He looks great. Look at it. Look at his. Look at his rear. Hold on. Let's see if we get.
He's very good.
The rear is really good too. I mean, I don't know how he lost the overall. I mean, maybe he doesn't have the best structure, but he's pretty good. I think.
Hard as nails,
right? Talking about glutes and hamstrings. I mean,
if he turned his freaking head, he'd look way better.
Who did I send you who turned the head for you? Bartley Weaver.
Yeah, and Hunter Labrada.
And Hunter Labrada turned his head, because
both guys won their shows.
There you go. That's right. Turn your head on the back double.
Turn your head.
Actually, they showed Lee Haney showing Max Charles how to pose in a video on Melis's channel, and he was telling him, turn your head.
There you go.
On the lat spread, even.
Yeah, even the lat, of course, either one. I mean, look, his traps are pretty cool looking too, man.
Yeah, I think Ben. has the most wow there. Even if he doesn't have the best structure, I think he's got the most wow of all the guys in this.
He looks really good in the back double.
He really does.
Isn't he a world class powerlifter?
I think you're right. I think he is.
That would explain those traps.
Yeah.
He's going to be a good pro. I think he's going to be able to match up size-wise. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw him if we didn't see him in Tampa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see? I'm jumping all over the place, but did you see I think that transgender woman, she won the medal. Didn't she win the Olympics?
The one
Laurel
from
Hubbard.
Oh, the weightlifter, the Australian,
Yeah.
New
Yeah, I think
Zealand?
she won.
Yeah, what was her
They're
name?
going to have new rules coming out, Dave.
Laurel Hubbard.
Laurel Hubbard.
Oh, they are, Chris? They're coming out
Yeah,
with new rules?
in today's news is they're going to make it. What they've determined, the Olympic Committee has determined, or they're leaning towards, is that there still are advantages. It depends on which sport. It depends on which sport. That's the chatter.
Yeah.
What?
Like, for example, so maybe a male gymnast became a female, there'd be less advantages than, let's say.
Oh yeah, but it never goes that way though. It's always the guy competing in the girls' event. It's never the girl competing in the guys' event.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
What a simple observation. I mean, somebody did become go into the weightlifting for the men's division.
I would be really angry if I was the girl who came in second place. That's all I know.
You know who I'd be angry at? I'd be angry if I was one of those beauty pageant competitors in Nevada that got smoked by a dude.
You know what? That's a beauty pageant. You know what? If you can't beat a guy and there's a guy that looks more beautiful, then he deserves to win. I think that's way more fair than athletic performance. It's harder for a guy to look beautiful than it is for a girl to be able to lift as much as some guy. Don't you think?
It's not an apples to apples comparison. It's the comparison is every place a man goes to compete in a woman's event, they win, including the beauty contests.
Well, but you know what? The beauty contest really there's no advantage for the man. If anything, John, there's a disadvantage at being a man, don't you think? Because you're not as feminine looking.
One would think, but you know, there's awfully effeminate men walking around these days.
Well, that's a fair matchup because men and women can compete equally in that. There's
I mean, you're absolutely, you're completely eliminating the strength element, which is the advantage in the transgender thing. So, I mean, this is a travesty. This shouldn't even be there shouldn't even be a picture of that. This is unfucking believable.
You know. You'd think this guy would have at least hired like a makeup artist. You know how like the women bodybuilders will have makeup artists and hair. You know, at least try to make yourself look like somewhat like a woman. You know.
Dave, you're such a misogynist. We're gonna get canceled now. How dare you equate femininity with looks? How dare you?
Right. Exactly. Unbelievable.
We are living.
It's great.
We are living in the fucking. Remember that movie Idiocracy?
Yep.
This is a scene right out of Idiocracy.
True. It's
right
true.
next to spraying the crops with Sprite. Or was it Mountain Dew? I forgot. Whatever.
What did they spray why, John? Did they spray the crops with Sprite?
7-Up or something. Mountain Dew. I think it was Mountain Dew, and they couldn't figure out when the crops were dying. You know.
I'm going to, Chris, I don't know if you looked at the light heavyweight winner.
I did.
Andre McShawn. I know you're going to like, I mean, this is a physique that we could definitely see. I mean, does this guy go to Classic, or is this going to be a guy we're going to see put a lot of mass on and dominate in bodybuilding in years to come?
You know, I think he's, 212, he's a legit 212 guy. What's his weight if he won the light heavies? He's probably
He's got to be 198. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only weakness is, I mean, he's different. Obviously, he's fabulous from the front.
Roden won the light heavyweight class, right? Didn't he?
I don't know what he won. Yeah, I think it was light heavy.
Yep.
But he's fabulous from the front and a little weaker from behind, right? In terms of development, his own development, he's stronger from the front, weaker from behind. His condition's better from the front, but outstanding front lat spread, outstanding stance and lineup, outstanding front double. He's open, he's vulnerable from behind. But overall deserved the class.
Didn't have the glutes, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's back thickness, 2 issues.
He looks a little bit like Mark Hector.
If you nitpick it.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. I'll pull his back up.
Great physique.
Yeah, you're right. He could be a little tighter from behind. More development, too.
I mean, I think the guy who got second, was... right on his tail. I think it comes down to shape, the way they're shaped from the front.
At least
the winner was the winner.
He's got my vote. He's turning his head.
There you go. That's all he needs to do. That's why he won it, John, right?
That's what did it. Turning his head.
Let me pull up Stephen Glockner. He was second. He was nasty hard. Yeah, this guy.
So, usually at the Nationals or USA, generally, it seems like the winner of the class often boils down to condition. I think his condition was better, but
structurally just wasn't as good.
Yeah, just from the front, the winner was, just looked tremendous in the front shots. Sometimes that's enough.
I always tell people the judges can only judge what's up there. You know what I mean? If they don't have a guy who's perfectly complete, then they have to judge what's there. I mean, this guy's like a Guy Cisternino, like lookalike.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Gnarly, hard physique. You could tell maximized every iota of muscle that he had. Came in grainy hard, and you could have made a case for him winning. Absolutely, I agree. Way better conditioning, but structure counts for something, in bodybuilding.
I mean, his physique just looks like hard work. Like you can just tell he suffered, to get that.
Yeah, he wasn't born with those gifts. Those are developed in the gym. Those gifts, so to speak.
Hard fought and won.
Yeah.
Is it top two that gets from each class gets their pro card at the show?
No, not at the USA. Just the winner in men's bodybuilding. It's just the winners.
Yeah.
In physique, anyway. I don't know why in physique they decide to give you they give two, but that's what they do.
Yeah.
Well, I think
it's crazy. Like
started because it's a new class.
They got to stack the population.
Well, I think they got more than enough classic physique pros by now. Don't you think that they don't need two at every division at this point?
Australia gets two a year.
Yeah, the whole country gets two a year. Exactly.
But for pretty much every class, they started just doing like 3 a year for bikini. But it's 2 a year for every class.
You're going to need to do a lot more than that because you guys can't leave the country anymore. You're going to have your own federation over there pretty soon.
Yeah, I know. We've had
Australia. They're going to have to call it.
We're actually having we had a bikini pro show which was only Australians, and we're having. I think there's going to be a men's physique and bikini one later this year as well, which Tony's putting on. So
cool.
But yeah, it's almost impossible to do like a 212 or an open bodybuilding. We've got a few guys, but probably enough to get maybe 10 in the lineup. But it's going to be sort of a bit slim.
They'll have to bring like Lee Priest back and Josh Laronowitz. They'll have to get they'll have to get all your Aussie guys back on stage. They're gonna have to get what's his name, John Torelli on stage. I think.
I don't know if that's happening.
No. Anyway, this is Ruben Salas who wins the classic physique overall. I really like this guy's physique a lot. Chris,
yeah, awesome.
What do you think?
Classic lines. Looks great in that front double. Very hard. To look hard under the lighting in the pictures. In other words, he looks rock hard in this picture. I'm sure he's way harder in real life because a lot of the shows like this show, it's just, it's lit, how it's lit. And, the camera tends to not water people out, but it doesn't capture the real detail that they have.
Mm-hmm. Look at this back
shot. For him
shot.
to look that hard on stage.
Look at the back shot. He probably could have, I don't know what his weight is here, but he probably could have won one of the weight classes in bodybuilding, I think, with that physique.
He would have been, if he's a light heavy, he would have been very competitive in that class we just talked about.
Yeah, he would have won that, I think, if he was light heavy. He looks a little tall to me. I don't really know what his weight is. They don't really list those. But
look at his look at his bicep brachialis area and stuff. Like it just looks nutty. Like it looks like there's an extra muscle there. Like the bicep, man.
It's called genetics. Right, Chris? That's great genetics.
It just like links up perfectly with his forearm. It looks like a different arm on his top of his arm. It's unusual to look at.
Bob Drushkin would be like, put 20 pounds on him. He wins the Olympia.
20 pounds on him, he'd be very dangerous.
Yeah.
An open bodybuilding show. He'll do very well in classic pro shows in this type of condition.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like a new guy on the block, it seems like, with the classic physique division, which I think is what makes it so exciting for people because the bodybuilding is kind of in stone. Like, it's really hard to break into the top ranks of bodybuilding. Yeah. But classic, you get a guy out of nowhere. He wins the USA, and now he's ready to compete as a top classic pro, It goes back to what you were saying, Chris, about the fact that you just don't need to be as big to break into that division. It's really about structure and conditioning, right?
Yeah.
It's not as much about how much muscle you have, although obviously having muscle definitely helps, especially at the elite level.
Well, Dave, what do you think about the lighting in these shows? Because, like you said, like the light. Well, Chris said that the lighting in a lot of these shows tends to be pretty poor lately. I pretty much said last year I thought it was because of COVID and they had to change venues and all that sort of stuff. But so many pro shows, they should consult with photographers and videographers and stuff like that. I feel like as they're setting up the lighting, because I know even some like amateur shows in Australia, they'll really go into sort of detail with the lighting, and it tends to be better lit than pro shows, which seems like crazy to me. Like, do you think there should be some sort of like consultation with the head judge or the photographers or something? You know?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think people know how to light stages. That's the problem. I talked to John Balick and Mike Nevue before. The guys who probably the best lighters in the business, right? Ironman Pro. That was the prejudging with the black curtain.
Incredible.
That no one had better lighting. Those guys knew how to light a stage. It's just that you need a photographer who understands lighting, who really knows lighting, who's going to be able to help participate with the people who set up the venue to make sure the lighting is ideal. I mean, that's really the only way it is. A lot of times, and I've gotten this, I've talked to the Arnold Classic people, a lot of times the Arnold Classic stage is lit more for TV and video cameras than it is for actually photography. And I understand that, especially when they used to stream it on pay-per-view and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know why it seems like it's a very important type of aspect of the show that a lot of people just maybe glance over as it not being that important. They kind of just go with the venue and whatever's there. But I don't know. Each promoter must have his own, battle with setting up the proper lighting. It just seems that we are always complaining about the lighting. There's very few venues that actually nail it every single time.
But isn't the prejudging, or at least it was for a while, they had the black backdrop where you could really see what was going on. It was lit well. And then it seems, I don't know if it's still like that or not, but at the finals, at least it looks cool. I mean, the Arnold stage is always spectacular and you can see it really well. But even at the Olympia just gone, like I thought the stage setup was incredible. But the problem was, like, they had, when Phil Heath came out, they had like a bronze, Sando statue behind him, and he's almost the same color. And it's like, I'm struggling to see things properly. And it's just, as if, like, it might be fine for someone who's a casual viewer, but I'm someone who really wants to see all the details and really assess the physique. And I felt like I couldn't even do it. And the lighting of the Olympia, what it showed on the actual video, it was very hard to break down a show like that. It was just like, who looks slightly better condition? And Brandon Curry, he didn't even look that hard on the video. And then I was seeing photos and other videos, and I'm like, oh, he's actually really hard, So it was
ask Flex Wheeler. Yeah, if you ask Flex Wheeler what his favorite, photos are, he always says Ironman Pro because they had the best lighting. And you got to put these guys on a black curtain. That's really the only way you're going to get everything to pop. And then you can set your lighting properly when you have that black curtain, because the black absorbs. It doesn't reflect light. I feel that these sets are beautiful that they set up for the Olympia, like you said, and the Arnold. The problem is it's very distracting. And especially the ones where they have the screen behind you that's kind of like LED screen. Because ask photographers how hard it is to set their cameras properly to take pictures when those crazy LEDs are going off constantly. So
I don't know how they do it, Dave. Like, I've done photography before like that of contests, and when that light is changing like that all the time, like I feel bad for them. Like, because there was ones in Australia, they told them to turn the sponsor signs off because it was like 1 minute was like a real bright, logo, like white almost, and the next minute be a black one, and it's like all the photos were turning up, like half of them were good, half of them were bad. It's like.
John, you remember when Per Benal used to shoot for Muscular Development? Per would bring his own lights. He'd ruin every other photographer in the press pits. Like, he'd have this huge flash that would go off every time, like he pushed the button, and everyone else's pictures got demolished. And no one was tougher. I got news to you. If there was a fight between all the photographers in the press pit, I think that Per Benal would have kicked everyone's ass. Don't you think, John?
He was definitely vocal about and passionate about what he was doing, and he always had the best of the newest, best, coolest shit. As soon as it came out, he had it. So
Blackman was paying the price for it too, I'm sure.
No, but do you remember when Blackman did something stupid and they kicked him out of the press pit? And Per shot the whole show from like the 19th row with a lens that was like this long, Yet the guy couldn't sit in front of him because he had to rest the lens on the back of the chair. It was fucking nuts. That shot of Barani Coleman from the back, though, with the red trunk, that crazy shot that was on the cover, was taken from the sixth row.
Oh, really? He was that far back? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the pair had the most expensive cameras of everyone. That's for sure.
Newest,
There's no doubt about that.
The newest, the best, the latest, the most. He always does.
All right. Before we wrap this up, guys, I know we've been going a long time, but I want to just we got the Tampa Pro coming up this weekend with one of the best lineups. I want to just kind of go over it a little bit. I want to get everyone's input on who you guys think is going to be in the top group here. We got Slavosh Bednar from Czech Republic, Casey Castro from California, Max Charles, Jeff Cherenfant. Oh, that's Big Bundy. Big Bundy. All right, that's Big Bundy, who just won the North American last year. Phil Klahar, Camilo Diaz, Mo El Aman, Doug Frucci, Efren Gawley, Doreen Haywood, Kevin Jordan doing the show, Matt Kuba, Seichu Lee, Justin Mackey, Mo Shaban, who just placed second 2 weeks ago, behind Hunter Labrada, Joel Thomas, Ian Valliere, we'll see him for the first time this year, and Keith Williams. Given that lineup, who do you like, Chris?
Valliere versus Shaban.
Okay. John Romano.
The only name I know on that list is Max Charles. So,
sorry, Max. I left Max out. That's the three: Max, Shaban, and Valliere.
Xavier.
I think Ian Valliere has to be the favorite. But every year prior to this, he's always like done it the first show of the year, hasn't been his best, and then improved show to show. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's working another year with Patrick Tour. So I'm assuming they've got getting more used to his body and how it sort of operates and stuff. Because obviously, like Tampa last year, he came in. It was Tampa last year where he came in a bit off and got beat by Hunter, I think it was, and then he sort of improved to New York and then got better for the Olympia. So I think Ian Valliere should be the favorite here, and then probably I would say Max Charles second. Charles Griffin's looking crazy, but probably Mo Shaban third, and then maybe Charles Griffin after that.
Yeah, I really like Ian Valliere. I've been a big fan of his physique because I think he's got a lot of density to his physique. He's got a huge structure, kind of reminiscent of Dennis Wolf on stage. I think his confidence level is much better this year than it's been. He seems like he's in a good place mentally. I have to believe that he's going to be a tough guy to beat. But like Chris said, Mohammed Shaban has really shown us that he can stand with the best of them. I mean, he stood next to Hunter Labrada, and you know what? That wasn't even his best. And I think if he brings a tighter look in, I think he's going to be really difficult to beat. And Max has been really, really good. I think that Max is going to have some trouble because of the legs. Ian Valliere has legs. Mo Shaban has really good legs. I think it might hurt Max. Now, Big Bundy, who I interviewed on the show last year when he got his pro card, who works with Guru Amin, I think is a wild card in this lineup. We haven't seen him yet on a pro stage. I heard according to Guru Amin, he put on about 15 or 20 pounds of muscle since last year, and he's looking really good. So he's going to be my dark horse, pick in this lineup. Of course, there's still some great competitors in this lineup. Mohammed El Aman, who was really impressive early in the year, has done, I think, every show this year, Chris. And he has been getting worse and worse. I don't know if his body's kind of burnt out or what, but you never know. He could put it all together here as well and come in. Justin Mackey, can never count him out. And of course, Doreen Haywood will probably be in that top five. He's been, he packs a lot of muscle on his body. So I think overall it's going to be one of the best lineups we've seen all year. Obviously, we don't have I wish we would have had what's his name? Sergio Oliva in this lineup, or even Hunter Labrada. That would have made the show even better. But I think we're going to have, it's not a foregone conclusion who's going to win this. And I think that's what makes it exciting.
Well, I thought Rolly was doing the show as well. Maybe he's not on the list
happened?
yet.
Yeah, I thought you're right. I thought he was doing the show.
Maybe he's just not on the list yet, because sometimes they do like a revision and the next day they're sort of added. So
someone had written in our comments section that he wasn't doing it, but I don't know if that's true or not. So.
Well, what weekend is the Europa Spain? Because I believe that he's doing that one against Nathan Diasha. He's committed to that as well. So maybe he's doing both.
Maybe he's just going to do that show. That's a possibility.
Is it top? Is it just the winner from that show qualifies, or is it the top two? Because it was the top two last year.
Spain.
Europa Spain. Yeah.
Spain, two.
Is it two in Spain, Chris?
Yeah, it's two.
Okay. All right.
I believe it's two. It was last year two. this year. I think it's 2.
I think, like, you know, because obviously Rolly's going over there, but you've still got other good competitors as well. Nathan Diasha, you got obviously Vlad Sucharoku, or however you pronounce his last name. I mean, like, because Rolly came 5th in that last show. I mean, if Vlad comes in really on, maybe, you know, Rolly misses out.
It's all going to be based on whether did Rolly over diet, and that's why he's just was too depleted, or as if Chris said, did he never get that muscle back that we knew he had? And that's what we're going to find out when we see him on stage next, really. So it's hard to tell. We'll find out. We'll know if he's small at the next show or smaller. Then there's obviously a size issue. If he's full blown again, then we knew he just over dieted and he got back what he lost. So we'll have to see on that one. The 212 division in Tampa is going to be amazing too. It looks like they got about 25 guys in this lineup. It's crazy. From Aaron Clark, I see Guy Cisternino, Kareth Baggio, my guy, Ahmed El Dasani. I see Farnsworth is competing again, Chris.
Yeah, I'm helping him.
Oh, you are? Oh, he's back. John Jewett, who is amazing. Austin Carr. I see. I mean, there's a lot of really good guys in this lineup, and I think that we're going to see a great event. Tim Gardner's
underrated for sure. Very good.
Tim Gardner's got to be licking his chops. He's been having some really good shows he's been putting on. So kudos to him and the whole staff over there, all the good work they're doing with these shows. And it's not easy. People don't realize knocking these shows off in these COVID times is like jumping through hoops. It's hard enough to get these shows off, and then you got to have all these restrictions and masks and spacing and mandates. Obviously, it's a lot easier in Florida than it is in other states. But, he was just in Chicago, and he ran that show flawlessly over there. So congratulations to him. And congratulations to all the winners at the USA Championships. If you won the overall and I didn't mention you, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy. Love to interview you guys, give you the credit you deserve. You did great. And obviously, congratulations to all the Pro Card winners out there. For now, though, we are out of time. You know what we say every week over here at Heavy Muscle Radio? With Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
It sure does, guys. And be safe. And we'll see you guys in Tampa. We're going to have our photographer there this week. And John Hansen's going to be there, too. So we're going to get a full wrap-up from